Good morning, everybody. Hope you're all well and had a good weekend. The countdown for Passover has officially begun, although it began really from Purim. We always begin preparing 30 days beforehand, but now we're really getting close. And of course, there's a lot of preparations that everybody's involved in, but I want to suggest one preparation which perhaps you're not thinking about. That is the following. Passover is a time, of course, where, as we say in the Seder, that we are celebrating our freedom from slavery in Egypt. But the fact is, we're doing much more than that, because celebrating freedom from Egypt is giving the impression that really we're observing just an historical event that happened 3,330 years ago, but it really is not that relevant to us. And couldn't be further from the truth, because freedom is something that needs to be exercised and needs to be worked with and needs to be celebrated in a personal way every single, not only year, every single day of our lives. Because freedom is something that we cannot take for granted, and it takes time and effort, and it takes a certain type of concentration and focus, which is not always at the front of our mind. So I want to give you a couple of examples of how we can do that. Number one, there's a muscle, let's call it a muscle that we have, which is something that no other part of this creation has. God didn't give it to the inanimate kingdom, didn't give it to the animal kingdom, didn't give it to the plant kingdom. We humans specifically have a muscle, which is the ability to go beyond ourselves, to choose to do something that is even against our own comfort zone. That's something very unique, but it's a muscle that needs to be exercised, because if it's not exercised, then it'll just get very dormant and it'll have atrophy and not be able to really function too well. But the fact that God gave us that capability is an amazing thing. Nobody else has that. And how much do we really not only appreciate it, but how much do we really put it to use? But we have that ability. So let's try a little bit in terms of seeing how we can really do that. And again, I'm giving you a warning. This is not something that's a comfortable, easy thing to do. And sometimes it's hard, and sometimes it involves some introspection and some disappointment and some real effort in order to be able to make it happen. But there's also another part of that muscle. I'm just calling it a muscle, but really it's, of course, it's part of our inner psychological makeup. And that is the joy that we get from being able to exercise that muscle. You know, when I exercise my arms or my legs, I don't necessarily get a joy from it. Some people do, but I guess when you get yourself in shape to a point where you feel that you really accomplished a goal, that's already a cause for joy. But in this particular muscle, you really have joy every single time you use it successfully. And that's something I want you to experience. So let's take, for example, imagine that I am who I am, and I am in this prison. I am in slavery. Every single aspect of who I am, I could be from the left to the right, up, down, whatever it might be. But I am who I am. And that is my box. So my box defines who I am. Now, if I want to break out of that box, how do I do it? So the box really is defined by my comfort zone, by my habits, by those things that I do on a daily basis, by my values, by my practices from day to day. But there are certain areas of our life where we're able to really push through. In other words, that people might say something to us that causes us discomfort. Why does it cause us discomfort? My spouse might need something. Why do I not step up to the plate and take care of that? I might have issues with money. I might have issues with drugs. I might have issues with my phone. I might have issues with any of a number of different things. And I know in my mind that these aren't necessarily the best things for me, or perhaps they're not right, or they're not moral, or they're just not something I want to be connected to, or there is something that I really do want to break out of. So exercising this muscle that we have is the ability of saying, you know, I want to go a little bit out of my box. I want to take myself to the next step. I want to not be a slave to this paro, whether the paro be my desire for eating, whether it be my anger, my arrogance, my this, my that, whatever we have. It's all the same package. It's all part of defining our box, defining our slavery, defining those things that really keep us closed from being able to grow in our life. Can you imagine a plant that was in such a box? It couldn't grow, it couldn't expand. What would happen to it? It would die. And similarly, a human being needs to grow. The Rebbe was always pushing us. And the Chassidus teaches to a great degree how to do this, how to use out this aspect of what's called the iskafia, of bending our will, of transforming ourselves a little by little and being able to really come out of that former slavery, whatever it might be. This is something that's very, very much on the minds of all of us as we approach Passover, and it's something to really take personally and try it out. So I want to try an experiment. I want to ask you to try in the next 24 hours, whenever you're listening to this, to catch yourself when there is something that goes through your mind that you know this is habit forming and this is something that you're used to, but you know it's not necessarily something you want to do or something you know is right to do. And then stop yourself just at that moment when that voice comes from inside, and then say, okay, listen, I'm going to do this experiment and I'm going to try to do what I know is right now, or what I know I should be doing, or what I know I want to do, or what I know I need to do in order to accomplish the goals that I want to accomplish. I don't want to stay in this prison. I don't want to stay stuck in this box that I've been living in for, might be a month, might be a year, might be my whole lifetime. And that itself is an exercise in Passover. That's what Pesach is all about. Pesach, the word itself, means to jump, to go out from where we are, but to go out in a strong way. It says that Pesach was a time that God jumped over the doors of the Israelis when he went in the midnight and killed the firstborn of the Egyptians. Pesach represents our personal jumping, our personal being able to jump over that door that's going to take us someplace that we don't want to be, that we know we don't need to be, that we really would like not to be. It helps us to jump over that door. So I hope that each one of you had your Cheerios this morning and you're ready to really exercise that muscle and be able to put it to good use, because I know, and you'll know, if you don't already know, that exercising that muscle is really very liberating and is perhaps the best real preparation we can make for Passover. So if you get a chance to do that, I would love to hear your comments or to hear what you went through or how you were able to push yourselves to go beyond that box, to defeat that Pharaoh and come out of that particular slavery, at least temporarily. And hopefully it will be the beginning of a real full ride towards defeating whatever slavery you feel you might have, whatever power is ruling you. Could be your phone, that you're just stuck on your phone all the time. It could be the TV, it could be the news, it could be any of a number of things. Everybody is different. So, Hatzlacha Rabba, I hope that you have a lot of success in your endeavors, and we'll speak to you hopefully sometime during the week. All the best.